hell, that is so annoying. I thought we were done with this. Fuck!
Curry double team.
I thought we were done with this.
Porter launches the three. That's good.
This is 2018 all over again.
Yeah, Oberside, I thought we were done with this too. I thought we were done with this, but guess not. From 2015 to 2019, the Golden State Warriors ruled the NBA in manners I simply didn't believe were imaginable, shattering many NBA records and playoff records, never having below 50 wins during the regular season during that stretch, going to the NBA Finals for 5 straight years, having 3 NBA titles in those 5 years. One very noticeable one was going 16-1 in the entire playoffs is nothing but amazing. And there can be a legitimate argument for saying that this version of the Golden State Warriors was the best team to ever be constructed in NBA history. But unfortunately, for the last 2 years, it hasn't been this great for the Golden State Warriors. In fact, it's been pretty mediocre. Due to injuries and the departure of Kevin Durant, the Golden State Warriors were pretty mediocre for the last 2 years. In the 2019-2020 season, only winning merely 15 games. And then the next year, with Steph Curry playing majority of the season, found themselves not even making the NBA playoffs. So I do understand some of the arguments for some people not being fully sold on the Golden State Warriors currently, even though they rank as the #1 team in the Western Conference with a 15-2 record. But I'm here to make the argument to you that the Golden State Warriors are not frauds, and I would even take it a step further by saying why they should be your pick to win the Western Conference. So before we get into it, make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell to keep you posted, and let's get into it. So, it would be quite insulting of me if I did not begin this video by discussing the Big Three: Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry, and Draymond Green. This Big Three has seen the ups and downs of this franchise, but it's not a stretch to believe if all 3 of them are healthy, this team should at the very least reach the conference finals, if not the NBA finals. And when it comes to Stephen Curry, who appears to have shown no signs of offensive regression despite the fact that he is 34 years old, I would honestly argue his game looks even better than it did before, which is crazy to say. And right now, Stephen Curry is the best player in the world in my opinion, and he is by far the MVP frontrunner. But I'm not going to talk about Stephen Curry's offensive game in this video because most of us already know how good he is in that area. But I do want to highlight his defensive end because that is where I do believe he has that misconception that he's some bad defender. But currently during the regular season, he hasn't been this bad defender that you may think he is. Maybe in years past, yes, he was a bad defender where Klay Thompson had to take on that responsibility to guard the point guard for him. But Steph Curry right now has been a great defender. He's been more versatile on the defensive end. He's not reaching as much as he used to, which was a problem with Curry, because in the first quarter, he would just rack up 1 to 2 quick fouls, which would be detrimental to the Warriors. And one teams I noticed when they try to post him up, it has not been as easy as it once was, since he has gotten stronger. And currently right now, Stephen Curry has the lowest defensive rating by a point guard this season with a 99.8 rating, which would have him as the best. And while we're on the topic of defense, I must talk about Draymond Green, because currently right now he's the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year, and honestly right now I don't even think it's even close. The Warriors currently are #1 in defensive rankings, and in my opinion Draymond Green plays a major factor for them being #1. And I could just throw out on the screen many defensive stats for Draymond, but to truly understand Draymond Green impact for the Warriors, you have to actually watch them play, and not just from the highlights. His defensive IQ is extremely high, allowing him to place himself correctly on the court, while also allowing him to think a couple of plays ahead, helping him to make the correct reads, making him very good in passing lanes, and he can genuinely guard 1 through 5 while also being one of the best one-on-one defenders in the league, making him, in my opinion, the best defender in the NBA. While I also must acknowledge on the offensive side of the ball, he is no longer the player that he used to be, but his playmaking has been, in my opinion, even better than it once was. While last year he averaged a career high in assists with 9, and currently he's averaging 8 assists. And yes, I know, Steph does play a major factor for Draymond to be getting assists, but I would also say thanks to the new players they have added has helped Draymond do a bit more in that aspect. With the athletic freaks they have added on transition, Draymond could just chuck the ball down the court, and most of the time they'll get a layup or an open three, which is another reason why they're so good. Now for Klay Thompson, I do understand the concerns that you may have for Klay, since he hasn't played NBA basketball for 2 years, and he's coming off, in my opinion, the two worst injuries you could suffer as a basketball player, and that is a torn ACL on one leg and a torn Achilles on the other. So currently we just don't know what player he will be when he comes back. But in my opinion, I do believe on the offensive side of the ball, Klay Thompson will be the same player, or maybe even better. If you watched Klay play, his game was never based on athleticism or his ability to beat somebody off the dribble. His game was based off coming off screens, cutting to the basket, and overall his three-point shot. In my opinion, these are factors that are just not going to go away. Now, concerns that some people may do have is on the defensive side of the ball, since he is coming off 2 major injuries. So maybe Klay won't be the same player he was defensively, since there was once upon a time Klay Thompson was regarded as one of the best two-way defenders in the league. But I would argue that gap can already be filled with the young and promising player Andrew Wiggins, who has been a good perimeter defender for the past few years and has been shown in many games last season and this season that when he's been asked to guard the best opposing offensive player on the other team, he's shown that he can hold his own on the defensive end. So with that being taken care of, I do believe Klay Thompson could still be a legitimate second option on this Warriors team. And hypothetically, let's say Klay Thompson isn't the same all-around player he was, I still do believe just his mere presence being on the court will relieve a lot of pressure off Curry, since Klay Thompson is still one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. And before I talk about the other players on the team, I must talk about how the Golden State Warriors have been so dominant in the third quarter. As many of you know, from 2015 to 2019, the Golden State Warriors were also known for going on ridiculous runs in the third quarter. Regardless if they were down 10 points, 15, or even 20, we all knew when it came time in the third quarter, the Golden State Warriors were going to go on a ridiculous run to cut that lead. And I do believe the Warriors have reclaimed some of that magic they had in the third quarter. Currently, the Golden State Warriors are the best third quarter team in the NBA. They have a 7.4 quarter margin in the third quarter, and in second place, the Miami Heat have a 3.9. As you can see, there's a major difference. And it's not just due to their amazing offense. I would argue it's mostly due to their defense so far, when they're able to just suffocate the opposing team's offense and force a lot of turnovers and score on the other end. And then there's Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins, two players who will be playing major factors for the Golden State Warriors to make a deep postseason run. Jordan Poole is a player I expected a leap to happen this year, and so far he has been doing that. Right now he's averaging 18 points per game, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists, while also shooting 46% from the field, 33% from 3, and 93% from the free throw line. And I also do believe his 3-point percentages will go up, since he's a much better 3-point shooter than what his averages are showing currently. Since he did start off the season a little rocky, but the last few games he's picked it up and he's been playing great. And the biggest attribute I believe that Jordan Poole will bring to this team is that there's stretches during the game where he could single-handedly carry the Warriors offense for 2 to 3 minutes single-handedly. As for example, when the Warriors played the Nets in the third quarter, Stephen Curry and Andrew Wiggins barely played because they were in foul trouble, and Jordan Poole was still able to keep the Warriors offense afloat. Or even in the last 2 games against the Pistons and the Raptors, he dropped 32 points against them and 33 points against the Pistons. Yes, I know both teams are bad, but he still did that on great efficiency also. Very impressive. So I believe he will have no problem when he's coming off the bench for Klay Thompson, and he'll be a guy to carry the second unit in scoring. And I've already touched on Andrew Wiggins and his defense, but offensively Andrew Wiggins is being pretty solid. I've seen there's moments in the games as well where he can be a legitimate second option for the Warriors, and when Curry's off the floor, he's still able to keep the Warriors afloat. And since he's no longer on the Minnesota Timberwolves, he no longer has to deal with the pressure of being a #1 overall pick and can just play his game while playing with the Warriors. Now, there is one player I am very concerned on, and that is James Wiseman. James Wiseman and his rookie campaign didn't play a lot of games last year due to his injury. But when he was healthy, there were some positives, but a lot of negatives. At times during the game, it just looked like James Wiseman didn't belong on the court. And then his playmaking ability is definitely going to need some work, because there were many opportunities where he had to pass to a wide open cutter and just didn't make the right pass, and it resulted in a turnover. And when he was posting up, he was not converting enough points for it to be effective. And defensively, when it comes to getting blocks, he was alright, but there are still some holes in his defense. When it comes to moving side to side to guard guards, he just doesn't look comfortable out there. And defensively, he commits too many fouls. In just 21 minutes of action last year, he was committing 3.1 fouls per game. That's too much. But I do believe the young big man can correct some of these errors if he can just be smarter on his defensive rotations, be able to hold his own when he's been asked to switch out onto guards, and offensively if he can just roll correctly after setting the screen and make the layup unlike Kevin Looney and occasionally catch lobs. I believe he will flourish in that role. The Warriors, since there will be moments during the regular season or playoffs especially, you are going to need to go big at times to guard taller big men in the playoffs, and I do believe James Wiseman is fully equipped to do that. And finally, to talk about the other important rotation players on the roster, and they have been great. Last year they struggled to have consistent good play from the players off the bench. This year so far, some of them have been great. Otto Porter Jr. has been great for them, giving them great three-point shooting while also giving them good defense, and being able to set the screen and then roll or pop off from the screen to shoot the three has been good. Then you also have Bjelica, who have been solid not only from the three-point range, but he's been a solid passer. In some of the games I've seen him in, he was able to handle the ball coming up the court on transition while being pretty decent on the defensive end. And then finally, you have Andre Iguodala. At this point, honestly, might not be the same player as he was, but his mentorship with his defensive playmaking ability is still very valuable for the Golden State Warriors. And he's just been all around solid. And just looking at this graphic, man, the Warriors are just dominating the NBA in almost every aspect. They're number one in almost every statistical category currently. It's just crazy. So in my opinion, I truly do believe the Golden State Warriors can win 55 plus games in the regular season. And the way they're playing currently, honestly, I don't see why you shouldn't have them as the favorites to come out the West. And when Klay Thompson and James Wiseman do return, the other NBA teams should be terrified. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I'm tripping on my take, or let me know if I'm not. Comment down below what you guys think. Make sure you guys like the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to keep you posted. And your boy Dream Hoops is out, man. Peace.